And like I the a policy which would be progressive. And when we say progressive, it should be based on current medical evidence. It needs to be based on current scientific fact. And mind you, till 2018, June 2018, the world over was very confused as to what this diversity is all about. When we type in diversity, we get issues like religion, we get issues like caste, we also get issues like color, we also get, and somewhere down the line, somebody introduces this gender. So when we're talking about diversity, and if we miss out the person, the human being, the human forms that are there, then this whole effort is going to go waste. And if today we are in a place where WHO has said that, look, gender incongruence is a reality. It is not something which the child is imagining. It is not a mental disease. Don't try conversion therapies on this. Accept it. Also, it is saying that sexuality is something, again, which is different in different human forms. It is saying that the perception of gender is as individual as your thumbprint. So saying that there's a third gender is actually wrong. We should not be doing that, because the moment we do that, we step back instead of progressing. We go back. And when we are talking about visiting our cultural heritage, then let me remind my august audience that gender diversity has been something which the Indian culture has celebrated. It is something which we put on our temples much before the invasions that took place, much before the invaders came and started erasing, systematically erasing the way we were living. And they enforced a binary system on us. And it is as a result of this binary system, and which Ramakant sir has so beautifully brought out, where we had a foreigner who came and designed a education policy for us to create a subset of babus who would be following the English model, not the Indian. Once, and history is witness to this, because before the Britishers came in and succeeded in wiping out the culture from a major part of our country, things were different. We had temples which were celebrated. And in comes the British, and you have draconian laws like which criminalized the very people who enjoyed favor from kings, who were mentioned in our epics, who were accepted in our society, and not accepted by one religion, by each and every form of worship or practice that was there in this country. With that diversity, we are now faced with an education system which is designed only for boys and girls. It is designed and implemented by people who only think about either the male or the female, who are now forced, and I will underline this word, forced to think about something that they do not understand, and they very conveniently shelf under the third gender, quite forgetting that when you're talking about trans men, there are trans women, and there are trans masculine people, there are trans feminine people. There is a spectrum. There is, these are all human forms. Nature was never intended to be in black and white. And when you look at nature and you look at science, it is not bound by your X and Y chromosomes. It is, it is with what one perceives oneself with this higher, newer cortex that you are given. This ability for spiritual thought, this ability for higher thinking, this ability to make the world a better place. This ability is not determined by what we can say to be binary. Hence, it is very important that all of us take a step back, do a little unlearning. If we really are evolved, then this should not be a step that means that you are less intelligent. In fact, it would mean that you are taking that scientific fact. And see, when we talk about statistics and we say before 2018, the number of people who were found to be incongruent was 0.05%. Today, this percentage is gone up to more than 6%. In fact, textbook of Nelson Pediatrics talks about more than 7% of young children who are assigned female at birth would say that they are not comfortable with the assignment that has been done. And more than 11% of children who are assigned male at birth would say that we would rather not have this label. We have evidence which says that if you believe the narrative that has been given to you, you would be tapping into a human resource that is way far productive. And you have medical evidence which tells you that if you have created dysphoria, if you have negated the narrative that has been given to you, then this subset will drop out or will be forced to drop out. They will go into hiding. They will go into closeting. They will end up with mental health issues. They will get into lifestyle disorders. They will become statistics which say that more than 56% of diverse children commit suicide. More than 40% of children with diversity visit a psychiatrist. They have to take medicines for depression. And all because adults like you and me, we did not take a step back to affirm to their narrative. Hence, it is high time that the dialogue opens out. We look at this education policy and say, thank you for saying transgender 4 times in 66 pages. Thanks a lot. But please understand gender. Let the primary school teacher know that there would be that one child in her class who is getting bullied, who is being ostracized, who is confused. And when this child comes to the next adult that this child trusts, who happens to be a teacher, and today we are talking about education policies, and which I think would be implemented by teachers. And this teacher tells this child something which is unscientific, uses words which are derogatory. Then this child stops communicating. This child becomes dysphoric. When the parent comes and talks to this teacher and talks about these issues which are happening at home, which the parent is not able to understand, this very teacher who has not upgraded her knowledge, who has not opened her mind, would give information which is unscientific. It is a very scary thing. It is something which we all, and today I see about 13 participants who are there who would be listening to me, I would say take a paper and pencil and say, who are you? Who do you perceive yourself to be? Does my mustache tell you that I am male? Or does my concern for the child tell you that I have that female trait of being a mother? Do you agree to my expression of or my position of privilege of being invited to a Zoom meeting to address intellects? Uh, this is my privilege. But is this privilege given to that child for whom we need to formulate this policy? So I would feel that let us go back, pick up this 66 pages, flip through it, and say, are we going to talk about who this policy is designed for? Are we going to look at the who and train them? Are we going to address this issue of when, or are we going to wait for 2030, or go back to 2015, or go back to some government who is in power today, or some other opposition who is not in power today but has the power to create noise? Is it noise we want, or is it a progression we want? Are we going to take these stepping stones and start building, or are we going to disintegrate what is probably a erroneous thought? I'm reminded of a very nice story, and when I read how penicillin was discovered and how penicillin saved so many lives, and I would implore you to go and read about it. It was a matter of accident. But then we had some brilliant minds who took this accident and converted it. Are we, the chosen 13, going to do that? Yes, it's a question to you. And I would like you to think about it and say that, okay, when I talk about gender studies, am I saying female studies? Or am I saying gender as a diverse pattern? Do I understand the social sciences behind it? Do I need to study about it? Do I need to do research in this? Because research is another area which is absent. We have no data. The data that has come to us is from a few centers which opened their mind. And these are the centers where the people with diversity felt, they felt that if we approach them, we will not be judged. How many of us have seen a transgender person? How many of us would be comfortable with a transgender person sitting next to us when we are going by bus? I'm not going to talk about schools. How many of us are going to educate that watchman to say that this child who is refusing to wear the uniform that is there in the school, please let him in? How many of us are ready to sit down with that class teacher and tell that class teacher that, look, it's not such a big deal if this boy who has been assigned male at birth today wants to put a bindi or feels more comfortable in a dress that this child affirms to, then it is not going to nuke the school. Nothing great is going to happen. But yes, if we affirm, then maybe we will have a rocket scientist. And there are a number of examples. We may have a code writer. We may have people who are part of Mission Mars. And all that because somebody believed the narrative. I think when we look at this policy, we need to answer these very uncomfortable questions. Are we going to create noise, or are we going to sit down and find out the ways to tell that person who made that mistake of putting that section 6.8 and mentioning that word transgender along with the female child, that look, good, you have done this, let's widen it. Let's talk about, compliment this person who says that teachers should, be subject to scrutiny as far as the certification goes. I say yes, they should undergo training. They should have certification in gender studies. They should understand gender diversity. And only then, mind you, allow them to handle children. And if as an administrator, as a policy maker, if as a school principal, if as a class teacher, you are allowing other uh, uh, people who have poor understanding of gender to interact with young minds, you will corrupt them. I think I've said my piece. It may be slightly difficult to write, but that is it. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Commander Sanjay. I think you've beautifully put across each of us responsibility. I think all of us are challenged by it. Due to network issue, I think we've had rains in Andhra, and that's why I think most of our partners couldn't join. So I'm gonna put this across social media. Facebook and YouTube, to see that this message reaches out to as many as people possible. Thank you so much for being very sensitive, just not to your child, but also to the society, and taking this moment to a greater extent and creating a great momentum in this field. Thank you so much. But I have a question for you. How do you think? Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Sanjay.
Yeah, so
go ahead, Dr. Sanjay.
Yeah, I thought I will just add one thing, that we have started an initiative. This is called a Gender Friendly Educational Institute initiative. We have introduced for the first time an introductory course, which is for educators, for teachers, for parents, and for policymakers. It is built in a manner that you can take it at your own pace. And it will involve about 2 hours of study. You do need to learn what I was talking about, because like I said, supported by evidence. And to understand gender, you need to open your mind. So 2 hours for the next 7 or 8 days, or maybe more, depending upon your pace, you complete this course. We will give you a certificate from the Association of Transgender Health.